Footy Journo's back again and back with another win for Newcastle United. 3-0 at the King Power Stadium against Leicester City tonight. 2 goals from Jacob Murphy, another from Harvey Barnes. Very, very routine from Eddie Howe's side, I'd say.
If you want to go through all the usual tropes, cigars out. What was maybe get
After
the
11 minutes, really, wasn't it?
Get the deck chairs out for Nick Pope and that one.
He had a couple of saves.
He did have a couple. He had a couple. But honestly, that was men against boys. That was genuinely pathetic. Like, that was one of the worst. Right. It's one of the easiest games Newcastle United will probably ever have in the Premier League. Genuinely. But like we've talked about, we just done a little thing for Newcastle World where you said it. You felt sorry for them. I felt sorry for them. Honestly, I felt like to have to watch that absolute rubbish dished out. Not even, you felt for them not even getting a goal. They were really, really poor. And look, Newcastle can only beat what's in front of them, and the positives I take from that is they came through seemingly unscathed. Were able to rest, get some minutes rest in the legs of the key men today, Joe Linton, because he's on the teetering on the brink of that ban. You want him against Manchester United. It's a type of all-action, big performance you'll need from him on Sunday, because that's always, look, Man United aren't the Man United of old, but it's still a big occasion at St James's Park for Newcastle United, and I think the fans will be up for it. So you want a Joe Linton ready to get in people's faces and get amongst it, because they'll need him. Be able to rest Isak, who doesn't look right. I'm going to be brutally honest. I think he doesn't look right to me. He's not the same player as he was a few weeks ago. Is he carrying something? Is he not?
Eddie Howe insists he's not.
Does he? Well, look, I'll have to take his word for it. But I would say if that's the case, then I think his form's dropped in the last 2. He's still scoring goals. Obviously, he'd be disappointed. You could tell he was disappointed coming off the day.
Yeah. Frustrated figure, wasn't he?
He was, because he just knew he wanted to get in on the act, and that's totally understandable. But Howe did the right thing. He rested players, allowed them to get minutes, and that's the positive you take on the day. 3 more points. And look, this team has got the Champions League in its own hands. It's never felt like that this season. It never felt like that last season. They were always playing catch-up. And this time, they've put themselves in an amazing position. After all that they've achieved, it could have been so easy to just switch off. And like I say, get the deck chairs out for the rest of the season, but it shows the drive and shows... To me, it's a real indicator of where this football club wants to go. Yeah. It isn't happy just winning a cup, which seems ridiculous and remarkable to us who've lived it and everyone out there who's lived it as well. But these players in this dressing room and this manager want to be fighting on the biggest stage. Look, let's be brutally honest about what they did 2 years ago. They had their fingers burnt in that competition. They won 1 game out of 6 in a really tough group. But, I think you can look at a lot of those games and think they probably could have got something more out of some of them. A little bit of European naivety, having not been in it. I think they'll want to prove a point this time. I think they want to be back in this. What are you laughing at?
Just laughing at you're on about naivety. I'm thinking about a bald Polish referee.
Oh, him. Honestly, if we get in that competition and I'll see his name again, I'll hit the roof.
His name's Simon. Was it Simon Kuchauya?
I was going to swear there.
Oh, okay.
Don't like him.
The man who shall not be named.
He can get in it. He's a complete.
One of the few times I've seen you not happy in a press box.
I was fuming that day. I was smashing the desk and shouting and bawling.
You wanted to get on the pitch and give him a piece of your mind.
When he turned away from watching, I thought, you coward. I was fuming. Anyway, but I think they'll want to make their mark. I think they've got unfinished business in it. They'll want to get in that. Yeah. They've seen what Aston Villa have done this season, and they'll want to get in the mix. Yeah. At risk of taking over the whole start of this video, I'm loving what we're seeing in English football now. I think there's a little bit of the edge has been taken off for me. I think.
Yeah, we were talking about
this in the car.
Yeah.
The edge has been taken off me. I always used to probably look at other teams winning trophies and other teams doing well and getting to finals and getting to semi-finals and go, I don't really want them to win it, because ultimately you're just a bit jealous. I think that's probably what it is. It comes down to the fact that Newcastle United aren't doing it. Now they've done it. I'm all for other English teams, other teams in the Premier League upsetting the apple cart.
Yes.
Because I think the game is bent in some ways. I think it's bent against the teams like Newcastle United.
Chelsea. The shenanigans with Chelsea over the last couple of days is shambles, and they're going to get away with it.
Of course
they always do. But it's disgusting. It is disgusting.
It is.
selling women's teams. Even last season, they were selling hotels to themselves. How are they getting
Sounds
away
like
with
it's
this?
like Monopoly or something.
No, that's not even, how are they getting away with this? It stinks to high heaven.
That's the game's rigged in that sense, and I think we all know it. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist by nature at all, but it's been in plain sight the last few years.
Yeah.
So I think the best thing for English football would be for Newcastle United, Nottingham Forest, and Aston Villa. You know, we've had our moments. Nottingham Forest going back years, moments with them, and you know, probably going back to, was it the last relegation or the one before? Aston Villa, bad blood, all that kind of thing. A little bit of a mini rivalry kicking off, but look. Is it not good for the game? The three clubs like that can boot out Chelsea, Man City, others, Man United, get yourself in the bin. Tottenham, you think a big six, get yourself down there. Honestly, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And it shows that's what English football always has been and what it always should be. You cannot hive off the top 4, 5, 6 positions for yourselves. You're not worthy of it. You shouldn't be able to do it. It should be on merit. And teams like that deserve to be at the top. So I've gone from a position of probably, you know, you're looking in the window and thinking, it's like a little kid looking in the sweet shop who can't afford, he hasn't got any money in his pocket. Whereas now we've got our sweets in our pocket, so how everybody else gets stuck in.
Yeah, it's like Leicester a few years ago. You're probably looking at that
You did.
them as a club with real jealousy almost, because you're like, well, Newcastle historically much bigger club than Leicester, but Leicester literally in the Premier League era, other than your big five, your Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Manchester United, Chelsea, are the most successful club in English football in the Premier League era. See, Premier League.
Well, looking at all
titles.
these, look, there's a pictures here. Championship champions, they can have that one. We've done that a few times. League title, Ranieri here. Community Shield, you don't think it's a proper trophy. I don't think many people do. I don't know why. I think it is. FA Cup winners.
Yeah.
I don't know what the end one is.
It's women's
Is
championship.
it? No, I
as
couldn't
well.
work
That could
out
be
the trophy.
Newcastle
Yeah,
one
of course
day
it
as well.
could, yeah.
But
I'm all for it.
yeah, I think you're looking.
Sold as well.
How much are they worth?
You're looking, and now Newcastle are one of those teams. You're always looking to be the best of the rest, but now they are very much in there, and Villa are the same. Forest, again, it could be a one-off, but it's nice to see another club breaking that mould, isn't it?
That's the biggest two fingers up to all the rubbish that we've seen over the
so.
years. The biggest two fingers up. It was a points deduction last season. A football club with aspirations, a football club who wants to achieve and wants to bring positivity to English football and their fans and their people and just relive glory days of old in this part of the world, the East Midlands. What is wrong with English football that you don't want success stories like this place, Leicester City, like Nottingham Forest? If Nottingham Forest, after a points deduction and all the rubbish they've had to deal with, finished third top and in the Champions League, it is one of the best success stories of English football.
Since these won the Premier League.
Of course
probably.
it is. Yeah. And I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Two fingers up to that lot who think they can hive off all the success for themselves. Some of them who don't even deserve to be in the conversation. You know how I'm talking about, Tottenham Hotspur.
Well, 16th in the Premier League, and they're totally irrelevant at this moment in time.
Look, we talked about on the way up, in terms of major trophies and things like that, like in the Premier League era.
Well, they're Community Shield merchants, by the way, Spurs.
Yeah,
If you class major trophies, we've won 24, whatever it is.
Is that what it
12 Community Shield.
Tottenham Hotspur.
Are you making this up? Was that actual?
That's off the top of my head. It is something
It's heavily
ridiculous,
weighted,
yes. But on the flip side of that, what I would say is, like, Nottingham Forest have literally had to come up and break the rules, get a points deduction just to be able to compete. You've seen Leicester come up, a team with good history, good prestige in the Premier League era, come up and just go out with a whimper. Southampton, another proud top-flight club historically, going out with a whimper. Ipswich, another promoted side, likely going straight back down. It's the Premier League in itself is risking getting hived off and being.
Is it boring?
It was boring tonight, you know.
It was so boring, and in a weird kind of way, that sounds so negative to say that, but it was so easy that it was dull.
Yeah.
Like it was men against boys.
Training session, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Newcastle were okay.
I think we'll probably give Newcastle some credit because it probably feels like quite negative. I thought they were fairly ruthless in that first half.
They were.
What was it? 4 shots on target and 3 goals. 2 of them from which a shot was saved and then Harvey Barnes put in. So they were pretty ruthless in that sense, and they can beat what was in front of them. But second half, Newcastle never got a second gear.
No.
The second half, they just totally took the foot off the gas.
Honestly, mate, it was neutral. They literally never had to.
Do you think they felt sorry for Leicester and wanted to let them score.
Showed mercy.
Well, I know.
I don't think so.
No, I think what it was it was a lot of players who know they've got battles ahead.
Yes.
And it was like
The game is won.
The game is won. They've done the business. You see it all the time. Look, that's like a Man City type performance. Liverpool have done that up until recently all season, where they'll go a couple of goals ahead and then the foot comes off the gas. Same Man City have done it for years. Man City rarely go and beat teams 6 or 7. They've got the ability to do it, or they have in the past. This season's a one-off, but in the past they could have beaten everybody 6s and 7s home and away. Most of the time they just take the foot off the pedal. It's not like days of old when Man United would beat you 6s or 7s back in the 90s and 2000s. It doesn't seem to work like that now. There's so much pressure on players and so many competitions, and top teams in England are normally fighting on at least 3 fronts when you come to the business end of the season. Not this year. But look, I think is English football. That's another debate altogether. We're getting into is English football a bit boring, predictable? I don't know. I think this season's got. You can look at it 2 ways. You can look at it and say the 3 who went down. Teams aren't able to compete coming into the Premier League now, and that's a bit predictable. Liverpool haven't had a challenge, and when they have been challenged, they've wobbled in all competitions. I think they're possibly one of the weakest title-winning teams in a while. But that's not a sort of well, we beat you all kind of thing. I think they're a good side. They are a good side. We've got really good players. But sorry, I'm getting waved out. How long we got, Joe?
I think just want to go through
Man.
The Geordie Juniors aren't getting kicked out for a change.
This is lovely.
Where was I going? No, so that's settled. Then what you would say is, I think there's been an evening out of everybody else. Would you say? Like
Middle of the table.
I think
It's
the
been
middle.
tight
I think it's the
good.
tightest middle of the table it's been for a long time.
It's really good, but I don't necessarily think it's of a high quality in that respect.
No, because Newcastle are in a great run of form in the Premier League, really, on the whole.
They are.
But we've had points this season, certainly go back to December.
Definitely.
Early December, where you were like, God, Newcastle have no chance of finishing in Europe, let alone Champions League. And now they've put a run together, got a bit of consistency behind them, and now you're looking, they're almost, if they keep this up, they're a shoo-in. So
Chelsea are a perfect example of that this season, where
stinking the shit out of them.
they have not been great,
the fault.
and they're 4th top.
Yeah.
It's just a funny old season, and that's been good for the competitive nature of the Premier League. It's been brilliant to see teams like Bournemouth, to see teams like Fulham, to see teams at times Brighton are as hot and cold as they ever are. But there's been plenty in the mix where they've come in and really enhanced it. But has it been everybody's been dragged up in levels, or has it been more of a dropping down of certain others? Yeah, like a squashing in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm all for it. You want competition. You want it to be positive. I don't want teams coming at the Premier League and struggling. You want them to be able to compete.
Yeah.
And again, Forest gave it a go, man. They realised that they came up with a team that was probably should have finished 8th or 9th in the Championship. They came up, they had a really good run, came up, and then thought, we're going to have to roll the dice here. If we don't roll the dice, we're going to go straight back down.
Yeah.
And they rolled the dice, and they got really hammered for rolling the dice. When ultimately, what did they do? Who did the harm by spending a bit of money and bringing in some players and giving the fans something to shout about and giving them something excited about? What are you penalising a football club like that for?
Yeah.
What are you penalising Everton for building a nice new stadium? What are you penalising for trying to buy a few players? What is this? What is this league, man? It's ridiculous. Why have Newcastle United not been able to spend when they've got owners there who want to spend?
It makes a mockery of this PSR would say, that you allow £105 million losses. And it's helping out football clubs financially. Newcastle have literally got the richest owners in the world. If they want to spend money, they should be allowed to do it.
Hasn't been shifted for inflation at all.
No, it's
No,
archaic,
that's
really,
ridiculous. That's a big problem with PSR, is the fact that how long is the £105 million meaning for? About 8 to 10 years?
About that,
It's
huh?
a long time.
It's wrong.
I think if it was adjusted for inflation, it would be closer to 150 million. So,
But
proportionally, it's
we're
ridiculous.
talking about Chelsea selling women's football clubs. Aston Villa, a team that wanted to get to that level, are also concerned not to do that because they've spent so much as well. It shouldn't be like that.
Aston Villa have done remarkable this season as well. They're a big success story. We fighting on the fronts they are. Basically, they had to sell their best player last summer, all to comply with these stupid rules, and they've gone again. good manager, some good players, good squad depth. They're rolling the dice again in January. Look, it doesn't look great on the balance sheets, I'm pretty sure, but it's helped them on the football field, and they might see some success there, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I think that sort of bitterness is
gone with the cup.
Evaporated a little bit with us getting it. And I know it might sound silly, but there might be people out there agree. But I'm all for it. I'm sick to death of this hiving off of success. Like, success for a little while in the Premier League, success was only available, or they wanted it to be, to maybe 5 or 6 football clubs. And look, I went on about Tottenham before. I'm going to stand here and say I've got mates and people I work with and who are Tottenham fans, and I've got no problem with Tottenham. But I've got a problem with them suddenly manoeuvring their way in because they're a really well-run financially football club to suddenly thinking they're one of the big 6 ahead of Aston Villa, ahead of Newcastle United, ahead of like Everton, ahead of all these clubs who've got...
Leicester had a bigger say for a good few years, didn't they?
As big a right as anybody to be involved in that, and it's all about money and it's all about hiving off success. Well, you can't hive off success. And this season, if anything, if it might be a little boring and a little predictable in places, to me, seeing teams like Nottingham Forest, Newcastle United and Aston Villa doing bits in the league and in competitions elsewhere, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. You touch on Villa and their squad depth and how they've been able to fight on all fronts. I think it makes you realise just how good a job Eddie Howe's done, where you look at Jacob Murphy scoring twice tonight, 8 goals, 10 assists this season. Like, for him to get those sort of level of goal contributions, I know you're not bothered about assists, but like he is contributing a lot.
Oh, he is,
And Harvey Barnes scoring again tonight. There's players who have been dragged up to a level where they are like being able to function in a top level Premier League side.
I think I know there's a lot of talk of the business and stuff, but I think there's been 2 new signings this season.
Tonali and Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing that's up the levels.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely Tonali. I mean, definitely Hall as well, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of them, of course.
So
Hall towards the back end of last season, but definitely
Yeah,
Tonali.
But it's one of those where it's like that stupid old saying that you used to hear in the Pardew era, wasn't it? That it's like, he'll be like a new signing when he comes back. Genuinely, those two, when they've got back up and running, have injected so much into this team.
So much quality, yeah.
So much so that you'd say they're in the top 5 players in the squad. It's been a remarkable turnaround. I'm starting to think the more I see Tonali is like, he's becoming such a crucial player. Like, can you even live without him? The energy and the
Good again
the
tonight
reading
as
of the game, and like I say, he had his cigar in the night. It was just strolling.
I've never
through.
seen...
If only he'd scored in that last minute, when he did his little shimmy.
Never tires Tonali.
No, that's why he stays
He's
on.
a proper workhorse.
Yeah.
Like, incredible to watch, actually. What an engine. What a player.
He is.
I think it's fair to say, like, until he moved to number 6 position, we weren't seeing much from him. But since moving to there, he's been an absolute revelation. And I think he's central to Newcastle United's future, and a very key player in so many different ways. I mean, lots of key players in the squad. Obviously, I don't want to compare, but you've got Bruno and stuff in midfield. But Tonali, for me, has upped the levels this season.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
To think at the start of the season, it was how did he fit? I think the one thing I know he scored the other day is probably hasn't the midfield without others has maybe lacked a few goals. But when you see Jacob Murphy chipping in, he's probably made up for the few that Anthony Gordon hasn't scored, or the few that others. Longstaff got a lot of goals last season. Of course, hasn't played and hasn't scored really. Who else got goals? Joe Linton probably chipped in with a few last season.
Yeah, he did. He had a decent season. He was injured second half. But Mega Armon obviously got a few. Harvey Barnes. I mean, he's got a few goals this season as well.
Yeah. No, it was good to see him get on the score sheet today.
Aye.
I said on the live.
You weren't necessarily... We looked at each other when Harvey Barnes scored, and the Leicester fans seemed to almost celebrate it. It was bizarre. They've had very little to cheer, so that was the closest thing to a Leicester player scoring.
They were actually...
They were using it as a protest against what they were saying.
Probably,
yeah.
It
was almost just like a mick taken.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for them. To be served up that as a home fan is depressing.
Every other week, that.
It was pretty like this ground is usually really good for atmosphere. I think. I think it's a place where I can get proper behind its players. Yeah. It's just soulless, and I feel really sorry for them. Yeah. And it ties into everything we've just been talking about. I think PSR is a big thing as well. That sort of cutting off between the teams in the Premier League and bottom 3. This is for the second consecutive season where the 3 newly promoted clubs have came up and straight back down.
And would you bet against it being the same next season?
No, I wouldn't. No.
I mean, you look at some of the clubs. If Sunderland were able to scrape up
They need significant.
I
They
would
would, but I think Leeds and Sunderland are probably the type of clubs where you think, could they maybe do it because of the size of the club? Reality, the football on the pitch, if Sunderland came up, Jesus.
Burnley.
They'd have to do a Forest and sign 15 players. Burnley are like, they're breaking records left, right and centre, but they're one of the dullest teams you'll ever watch. They'll get ripped apart in the Premier League. I've no doubt about it. Leeds, wobbling like hell. They're a big club. So you think they've got half a chance.
Yeah, with teams like Sunderland and Leeds, the home record and home ground gives
you a
them
chance.
a chance.
It does, aye.
Whereas the top two currently, Sheffield United and Burnley, I've watched quite a bit of them this season, and I just don't see how they survive. They're the top two teams in the Championship, and I don't know how.
Sheffield United and Burnley look like the type of teams that could threaten records, like threaten Southampton. They're that. I could be totally wrong, but looking at them, I think they played Sunderland earlier in the season. I remember watching that full game, and it was probably one of the worst games of football I've ever seen. Burnley, it was incredible to watch.
Well, we watched Borough on Friday night together, and this is a team challenging for the playoffs, right up in there. And
they scored an Harry goal.
They scored a very good goal actually in the opening minutes, but couldn't finish the dinner. Really, even though it was 2-0.
We finished our dinner here. It was all right. You get well fed here, don't you?
Oh, you were gutted though.
I was good. I didn't get the dumplings.
Yes.
Chicken stew with dumplings. It was. They look after you at Leicester.
Yes, it will be missed.
But I had no dumplings. There was no dumplings for me.
No, it's shocking. That's file a complaint.
Devastated.
We're missing two stars of Premier League catering in Southampton and Leicester.
Southampton are Champions League in terms of catering.
It's a shame. Shame that doesn't.
You didn't have a very good night once.
That was the Bruno Guimaraes' first goal for Newcastle United, and I had some kind of soup that day, and it was.
I was sharing a room with you that night, and all I could hear was.
Yeah. Fancy being the bottom of the country, having to drive back the next day and feeling like
you
that.
weren't well.
But I agree though that the food Southampton is top tier. It is.
It is good.
Just don't have the soup.
Yeah, Leicester's top half as well.
Yeah, really good, really good. Newcastle take note. Right, we love you really. We love you really. Right, where we're going? How we're done? Sponsors. Here's a word from the Geordie Journal sponsors.
Comply IT Limited. Worrying about disposing of your old IT equipment? Don't be. Comply IT handle everything. Secure collection, detailed tracking, and certified data destruction. That's Comply IT Limited. We've also got Mitigate. Mitigate enhances workplace mental health, helping businesses stay compliant, reduce absences, and unlock higher productivity, creating healthier, happier teams. And of course, our OG sponsors, Four Rivers Financial Planning. Four Rivers Financial Planning offer holistic financial advice for all stages of life, ensuring your plan remains robust and adaptable in the ever-changing world we live in.
Right, we're back. Words from our sponsors there. If you need any details of the sponsors, of course, do just check down here in what do you call it? What do you call that little bit underneath the video? Description. I always say bio. I don't know why.
Same thing.
Is it?
Yeah, it's similar.
Description. Look down there. Big sponsors, top supporters of the Geordie Journals. All of you guys are too. So thank you very much. I do want to remind you, it's easy done. Like, comment, share, subscribe for all the Geordie Journals content. There's a bell somewhere around here. Click it, and it'll just tell you anything that you watch us on. Probably not your TV, as we've discussed previously. Don't think smart TVs are quite that far on. But it'll tell you when all the videos come, your phone, your laptop. Do people still have pads? You know, like
maybe, yeah.
Do people still have pads?
You know, like an iPad.
I mean, I think they're pretty in fashion, to be honest.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have one.
No,
we don't have one.
I don't have one.
Oh, you on it then?
I know people that do though.
Yeah. Well, very fashionable people. Right. Quick ones on our key men from today.
Right. For me, in my Shields Gazette player ratings, I had obviously Jacob Murphy with his 2 goals. Sandro Tonali, I thought Tino Livramento once again at left back, very impressive. Energy levels again, set the tone early on, assist as well. We're sort of seeing some end product from Tino, which is really good. And yeah, I thought Harvey Barnes did well on his return to Leicester as well.
You?
I'll do the top 3.
Whatever.
So Tino Livramento and Jacob Murphy are my 2 high marks, but if I had to pick between them, it'd be Livramento.
Yeah.
I just think, we call him a makeshift left back, but I think he looks like a proper left back. I think Eddie Howe touched upon it in last press conference. He mentioned that Livramento seems to attack better down the left hand side. And he does. That was a really good move with him and Harvey Barnes down the left. Good cross, good finish by Jacob Murphy. It was on a plate. So I think losing a player like Lewis Hall, we've just said he was sort of been like transformational this season. It should have really been felt. It's still a massive blow having Lewis Hall, but I think Dean Livramento has made that feel, has lessened the blow in many, many ways. We haven't really felt the absence of Hall yet, I don't think.
He's linked quite well with Barnes, I think.
He has, yeah. They've developed a really good relationship then too, cutting inside.
Be more synergy down that left-hand side than there possibly has been all season with Gordon and Hall, who have been individually very good, but as a collective, maybe lack that chemistry at times.
Well, I agree totally. I think Tino Livramento was head and shoulders the man of the match today. I'm going to put a little word in. I thought Tonali strode through that game and was just imperious in that midfield. But I do want to say, I think a player who has really stood up when it's been needed. I think Kieran Trippier was class again today.
He was good.
And I think again, it's just his experience in games like this. He's just cruising through games. I want to see a bit more of him on the ball. I tell you what, we're not seeing as much because the balance has switched. It's kind of went that way anyway with Hall. Livramento's took on that balance where he's the one pushing it in midfield, pushing on where Trippier's almost having to do that defensive job. And it probably in his career hasn't always suited him, but he's actually defending really, really well at the minute. And it's great to see. He's rolling back the edges. He got it right up here now. We know he's had, he's had issues on, off the field, whatever it may be. I think his head's in the game now, and I think he looks top class. Big shout out to him. I think he's been outstanding.
Yes. Shout out to Fabian Schär as well for nearly scoring the goal of the season. But then also, well, we joked at half time. It was a very good assist for Jacob Murphy.
Oh, yeah, he never misses Fabian Schär. No, I was there. It's the only time Newcastle have scored a goal, and I've actually been gutted. I wasn't gutted because they scored. I wasn't gutted because Jacob Murphy scored. I was gutted because Fabian Schär didn't.
Yeah.
It was just so deserved.
It looked
Do you remember Newcastle? The last time Newcastle scored a goal for Moonhoff? Because I can't.
Somebody on said that Sky had said it would have been the longest. What was the longest shot or something? Somebody said it in
This season.
That hit the crossbar in the Premier League history or something. I mean, somebody said that. I think in the
niche.
live. That could be
That is
totally.
very
It
niche.
could be crap as well. But anyway, I'm sure somebody said that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Random start.
It
It looked in.
It was in.
I can't believe
it was
it
in,
didn't go in.
and I don't know how it did. I don't know how it did. It was in.
What a player though. It sums up his uniqueness because there's not many centre halves would even think about attempting that.
Eddie Howe said that.
How
as well.
did he?
Yeah.
There's so few defenders in world football would take that on.
He said people might see it, but not have any technique to be able to pull it off to the degree he very nearly did. And
That would have been an all-timer, absolute all-timer. But anyway, we had to settle for Jacob Murphy
Nearly
controlling
messing
the ball onto his own knee and then half stabbing it in, which he joked about after the game himself, that he nearly messed it up, but he didn't. He got his goals and thoroughly deserved. Right, like I said earlier, like, comment, share, subscribe. We probably will get booted out here. It's after midnight at the King Power Stadium. The next time you'll see the Geordie Journals will be
Me and Jordan on Friday, and then together on Sunday from Manchester United.
Yeah, we'll of course have a video from St James's Park to be live, which you can check out. You can check out the live from this one if you want to have a little view of what it was like in the stadium. But like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course these two guys will see you on Friday. Right, good evening, good night, good morning, whenever you watch this from the Geordie Journals.